Timin Kong stood in the center of the massive chamber, surrounded by thousands of alien beings who had already decided his fate. The Galactic Council chamber was a sight that should have filled him with wonder. Crystal towers rose hundreds of feet above him, each one glowing with soft light from worlds he had never visited. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing the faces of council members from across the galaxy. But Timin felt no wonder today. He felt only a cold dread settling in his stomach. He had been Earth's ambassador for 12 years. He had negotiated trade deals, settled disputes, and worked tirelessly to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Now all of that work was crumbling around him. "The human species has expanded too quickly," Speaker Velther announced, his reptilian features twisted in what Timin had learned to recognize as disgust. "In just 30 years, they have claimed 17 star systems. It took the Velthari people 300 years to achieve such expansion. This reckless ambition threatens the stability we have maintained for millennia." Timin wanted to shout that humanity had followed every rule, filled out every form, and respected every boundary the Council had established. But he knew it would not matter. The Council had not gathered to hear his defense. They had gathered to make an example of his species. "We have broken no laws," Timin said, keeping his voice steady. "Every colony was established in unclaimed space. Every settlement was registered with the proper authorities. We have done nothing wrong." "You have done everything wrong," another council member hissed. This one was Councillor Thexara, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. "You reproduce too quickly. You adapt too easily. You challenge traditions that have existed since before your species discovered fire. You are dangerous." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Dangerous. Not because humanity had attacked anyone. Not because they had stolen or lied or cheated. Dangerous simply because they existed and thrived. Captain Narration watched from the observation gallery above. Her hand rested on the weapon at her side, though she knew using it would be suicide. The chamber held security forces from a dozen species, all of them watching the human delegation with suspicion. Nari had spent 20 years in Earth's military before becoming a diplomatic escort. She recognized a setup when she saw one. "This is wrong," whispered Hyan Park, the chief scientist standing beside her. He was a gentle man who believed in reason and logic. Watching the council ignore both was breaking something inside him. "We have given them everything they asked for. Medical technology that saved billions of their people. Agricultural methods that ended famines on their colony worlds. We have been good neighbors." "Good neighbors they fear," Nari replied quietly. "And fear makes people cruel." Below them, Speaker Velther raised one clawed hand. The chamber fell silent. "The Galactic Council has deliberated. We have reviewed the evidence. We have considered the arguments. Now we vote." Timin watched as lights began to appear throughout the chamber. Red lights for guilty. Blue lights for innocent. The red lights came first, dozens of them, then hundreds. They spread through the chamber like a disease, overwhelming the scattered blue lights that appeared. When the count finished, the holographic display showed the results in numbers that made Timin's heart sink. 847 votes for banishment. 3 votes against. "The decision is final," Velther declared. "Humanity is hereby expelled from civilized space. You have 6 months to withdraw from all territories recognized by this council. All trade agreements are nullified. All technology sharing programs are terminated. All diplomatic relations are severed. You are alone." The word echoed through the chamber. Alone. Timin thought of the 37 colonies scattered across human space. He thought of the billions of people who would need to be evacuated or abandoned. He thought of the children being born right now on worlds they would need to leave behind. "This is genocide," Timin said, and he did not care that his voice shook with anger. "You are condemning billions of people to death. The evacuation you demand is impossible in 6 months. We would need years to move everyone safely." "Then move quickly," Velther said, and Tiemann could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Or learn to survive outside council protection. The choice is yours." Nari met Tiemann at the exit. The ambassador looked like he had aged 10 years in the last hour. His shoulders sagged under an invisible weight. But when he looked at her, Nari saw something else in his eyes. Not defeat, anger. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," Tiemann said, as they walked toward their ship. "I need to speak with Chancellor Somin Han immediately." "What will you tell her?" Hyen asked. "The truth," Tiemann replied, "that we have been judged and found guilty of the crime of being human. That the galaxy we thought would welcome us has instead shown us the door. And that we have 6 months to decide who we are going to be." Their ship waited in the diplomatic dock, a sleek vessel called the Harmony. The name felt like a cruel joke now. Nari gave orders to her crew as they boarded. Within minutes, the Harmony detached from the station and began its journey home. Tiemann stood in the observation deck, watching the council station shrink behind them. It was beautiful, he had to admit. A massive ring of metal and light, home to thousands of species living in cooperation. Or what they called cooperation. Tiemann now understood it was more like submission. The older species had built this society to benefit themselves, and they did not want competition from upstart humans who did things too quickly and asked too many questions. "Ambassador," Hyen said softly, joining him at the window, "what do you think we will do? Will Earth order the evacuations?" Tiemann was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who had just realized he was finally free to stop playing nice. "I think," Tiemann said, "that the Council just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They think banishing us will make us weak. They think isolation will destroy us. But they forget something important about humans." "What's that?" Hyen asked. "We have always done our best work when someone told us we could not do something." Tiemann turned away from the window. "The Council thinks they have ended humanity's expansion. They have no idea that they have just set us free." The emergency session of the United Earth Government lasted 16 hours. Chancellor Somin Han stood at the center of the assembly hall, looking at the faces of representatives from every human nation and colony. They were scared. They were angry. Most of all, they were confused about what came next. "We cannot evacuate 37 colonies in 6 months, said Representative Jackson from the North American Union. "The logistics are impossible. We would need 3,000 transport ships working around the clock, and we only have 800. "Then we do not evacuate," Somin said simply. The room exploded into argument. "They will enforce the deadline," someone shouted. "The Council has the largest fleet in the galaxy. Let them come," Admiral Junho Lee said, standing from his seat in the military section. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a fighter pilot. "We have spent 30 years being polite, being careful, following their rules, and they still banished us. Maybe it is time we stop caring what they think." Dr. Minji Choi stood next. She was young for a chief scientist, barely 40, but her work on xenobiology had earned her respect across human space. "I propose an alternative," she said. "We have been mapping space for decades. Council territory only covers about 30% of the galaxy. The rest is listed as uninhabitable or dangerous. But what if they are wrong? What if they simply never bothered to explore it properly? You want us to run away into uncharted space?" Someone asked. "I want us to run toward opportunity," Minji corrected. "The Council has grown comfortable. They have stopped exploring. They have stopped innovating, but we have not. We could find new worlds out there. Better worlds. Soman looked at the Admiral. Jun-Ho, can you protect our colonies during a transition period? If the Council forces arrive early, yes, Jun-Ho replied. Our ships are smaller and faster than theirs. We have been studying their tactics for years. But I need permission to engage if they threaten our people. You have it, Soman said. Prepare the Third Fleet. 3 weeks later, Council enforcers arrived at New Jeju, a farming colony on the edge of human space. They did not bother with warnings. 6 massive warships entered orbit and began broadcasting evacuation orders. The colonists had 24 hours to leave everything they had built. Daeho Song stood in his wheat field, looking up at the sky. He could see the Council ships even in daylight, dark shapes blocking the sun. He had lived on New Jeju for 15 years. He had cleared this land with his own hands. He had built his home, raised his children, and buried his wife in the soil of this world. He was not leaving. Father, we should pack, his daughter said. She was crying, but trying to be brave. No, Daeho said. This is our home. We stay. Across the colony, other families were making the same decision. They had come to New Jeju to build something. They would not abandon it without a fight. Admiral Jun-Ho Lee received the distress call while his fleet was still 2 days away. The Council ships were threatening to begin orbital bombardment if the colonists did not evacuate immediately. Jun-Ho ordered his engines pushed beyond safe limits. The Third Fleet arrived at New Jeju in 38 hours. This is Admiral Jun-Ho Lee of the United Earth Defense Force. He broadcast on all frequencies. You are in human territory, threatening human civilians. Withdraw immediately. The Council commander was a Velthari named Kexter. His response was filled with contempt. You have no authority here, human. Your species has been expelled. These colonists are trespassing. These colonists are home, Jun-Ho replied. This is your final warning. Leave, or we will remove you. Kexter laughed. Your primitive fleet against Council warships? You would not last 10 minutes. Then let us find out, Jun-Ho said, and gave the order to attack. The Battle of New Jeju lasted 6 hours. The Council ships were larger and had stronger shields. But human ships were faster, and their captains were creative. They used the planet's gravity to slingshot around for attack runs. They coordinated strikes on weak points in the Council shields. They sacrificed 3 destroyers to take out 1 Council cruiser. When it was over, 4 Council ships were destroyed, and 2 had retreated. Humanity had lost 9 ships and over 2,000 crew members. But New Jeju was still free. The news spread across human space within hours. Humanity had stood up to the Council and won. Other colonies began organizing their own defense forces. Civilian ships were armed with whatever weapons could be found or built. People who had never held a gun began training. In case more Council forces arrived, Chancellor Soman addressed the entire human species from Earth. The Galactic Council has shown us their true nature, she said. They do not want peace. They want submission. They cannot accept that we have succeeded on our own terms. So they try to destroy us. But we will not be destroyed. We will not be scattered. We will not beg for their mercy. Instead, we move forward. Dr. Minji Choi has identified 300 systems beyond Council space that could support human life. We are sending colony ships there immediately. To those who wish to stay in our current territories, you have our full support. To those who wish to explore new frontiers, you have our blessing. And to the Council, you have our defiance. Daeho Song watched the speech from his home on New Jeju. His daughter sat beside him, no longer crying. What happens now, Father? She asked. Now we rebuild, Deo said, and we show the galaxy what humans can really do. The first wave of colony ships departed 3 months later, not running from the Council, but racing toward opportunity. Dr. Minji Choi led the science vessels, eager to explore regions the Council had written off as worthless. What they found in those first months changed everything. Ancient structures floating in dead space. Technology that made Council advances look primitive. Evidence of civilizations that had risen and fallen millions of years before the Council even existed. Minji stood on the bridge of her ship, the Discovery, staring at a massive ring station. It was easily 100 miles in diameter, made from materials that her scanners could not identify. "This is impossible," she whispered. "Impossible is just something nobody has done yet," her first officer replied. Minji smiled. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we found something. Tell them the Council was wrong about the outer regions. There is more out here than any of us imagined, and it is all ours for the taking." Back on Earth, Chancellor Soman received the message and allowed herself a moment of hope. The Council had tried to end humanity's expansion. Instead, they had forced humanity to look beyond the boundaries of known space. And what humanity was finding there would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Junho Lee prepared his fleets for the conflicts he knew were coming. The Council would not accept human defiance. But this time, humanity would be ready. They had been pushed to the edge. Now they would push back. Captain Yuna. Im had been exploring the outer reaches for 3 years when she found the Architect ruins. Her ship, the Determination, was small compared to military vessels, but it was built for long-range exploration. Her crew of 45 scientists and engineers had volunteered for a 5-year mission into completely uncharted space. "Captain, you need to see this," her sensor officer called out. "I am reading energy signatures ahead. Massive ones. But there are no stars in that region." Yuna brought the Determination around a gas giant and stopped. Before them floated a structure so large, it made Council stations look like toys. It was a sphere, perfectly smooth, glowing with soft blue light. Yuna's scanner said it was 300 miles in diameter. "What is that?" Someone whispered. "Our future," Yuna replied. "Take us in slowly. Weapons ready, just in case." As the Determination approached, panels on the sphere's surface slid open. A beam of light scanned the ship from bow to stern. Then a voice spoke in perfect human language. "Welcome, builders. The architects have been waiting." The sphere was a library, a museum, a gift from a species that had vanished millions of years ago. The architects had been the first to achieve faster-than-light travel. They had mapped the entire galaxy. They had built wonders that still functioned after eons of abandonment. And they had left it all behind for whoever came next. Engineer Taiyang Bei could not sleep. He spent every waking moment studying the architect technology. The manufacturing systems alone were revolutionary. They could create complex machinery at the molecular level. A single architect fabricator could produce in one day what Earth's best factories needed months to build. "This changes everything," Taiyang told Yuna during one of their daily briefings. "With this technology, we could build a colony for nothing in weeks instead of years. We could construct ships that would make Council vessels look ancient. We could create weapons that would make them think twice about attacking us. Can you make it work?" Yuna asked. "I already have," Taiyang said with a grin. He held up a small device. "This is a quantum communicator. Instant communication across any distance. No lag time. No signal degradation. I built it this morning using the architect fabricator. We could have one on every ship, every colony, every outpost. Humanity would never be isolated again." The discovery spread through human space like wildfire. More exploration ships were sent out. They found more architect ruins. stations, factories, research facilities, and things humanity did not even have names for yet. Each discovery brought new knowledge, new capabilities, new hope. About 12 years after their banishment, humanity controlled 300 systems, not because they had conquered them, but because they had simply moved in and built homes. Most of these systems were in regions the Council had marked as too dangerous or too resource-poor to bother with. The Council had been wrong. Xiaozhan Quan had been a colony administrator before becoming the first speaker of the Frontier Assembly. The Assembly was humanity's new governing body, representing all the colonies in the outer regions. It was messy and loud and chaotic, but it was also genuinely democratic in a way the old Council had never been. "We need to discuss military integration," Xiaozhan said at the Assembly meeting. "We have 50 different colonies, all building their own defense forces. We need coordination." Commander Jiwan Nam stood to address the Assembly. She was young, but had proven herself brilliant in the few skirmishes with Council scouts that had ventured into human territory. "I propose the Human Defense Initiative. Every colony contributes ships and personnel. We standardize equipment and tactics. We train together. And if any human world is threatened, we all respond." The vote was unanimous. Within 6 months, the HDI fleet was the largest mobile force humanity had ever assembled. 200 warships, all equipped with hybrid human architect technology. Shields that could absorb incredible damage. Weapons that could strike across entire solar systems. Engines that could jump a ship from one star system to another in hours, instead of weeks. But the greatest discovery came from Dr. Minji Choi's continued research. She had found references in the architect records to another species called the Wanderers. They were nomads who lived in massive generation ships, traveling between galaxies. They had also been expelled from Council space centuries ago. "We need to find them," Minji told the Assembly. "If the Council has done this before, the Wanderers might be willing to share what they learned about survival outside Council protection." It took 8 months, but contact was finally made. The Wanderers were cautious at first, but when they learned that humanity had been similarly banished, they became allies. They shared navigation charts to resource-rich nebulae. They taught human engineers how to build better life support systems. And they warned humanity about the Council's true nature. "They fear competition," the Wanderer leader explained during the first diplomatic meeting. The Council species reached space early. They built their society on the idea that they were the natural rulers of the galaxy. When younger species like yours or ours advance too quickly, it threatens their sense of superiority. So they find excuses to eliminate the competition. "How did you survive?" Xiaozhan asked. "By staying mobile. By never letting them find our home bases. By being too difficult to hunt down. But you humans have chosen a different path. You are building an empire." "Not an empire," Xiaozhan corrected. "A federation. We are not interested in ruling over others. We just want to be left alone to grow." "The Council will not leave you alone," the Wanderer warned. "They will come for you eventually. And when they do, you must be ready." Commander Jiwan took the warning seriously. She expanded the HDI fleet to 500 ships. She established defensive stations around every major colony. She drilled the crews relentlessly, preparing for the day the Council decided to solve their human problem permanently. That day came sooner than anyone expected. Council scout ships began probing human territory more aggressively. They were mapping defenses, testing response times, gathering intelligence. It was obvious that a major attack was being planned. "They are going to hit us hard," Jiwan told the Frontier Assembly. "Probably at multiple locations simultaneously. They want to break us quickly before we can coordinate a response." "Then we hit them first," suggested one of the colony representatives. "No," Xiaozhan said firmly. We defend, but we do not start conflicts. We are not the aggressors here. When the Council comes, we will show them that humanity cannot be bullied. But we will not become what they fear we are. Yuna Im, now an admiral in charge of exploration fleets, offered a different suggestion. We have found 17 more architect facilities in the last year. Every single one contained technology the Council has never seen. What if we use that advantage? Not to attack, but to make ourselves too costly to conquer? The strategy was adopted. Human colonies became fortresses. Ships became faster and deadlier. Communication networks became impossible to jam. And humanity waited for the inevitable confrontation. On Earth, Chancellor Somin Han watched reports from the frontier. Humanity had been banished 12 years ago. They were supposed to have withered. Instead, they had thrived. They had built something the galaxy had never seen before, a civilization based not on ancient privilege, but on merit and innovation. The Council made us strong, Somin said to her advisors. They thought exile would destroy us. Instead, it freed us from their restrictions. Now we are becoming what we were always meant to be. The plague started on the mining colony of New Bizown. 23 miners fell ill within hours. The symptoms were horrific: bleeding from every orifice, organ failure, violent seizures. The colony's medical team had never seen anything like it. Within 3 days, 200 people were dead. Agent Eziel O arrived 4 days after the outbreak began. She was part of Human Intelligence Services, a new organization created specifically to counter threats from the Council. Eziel was good at her job, because she never accepted obvious answers. The official report says it was a natural outbreak, the colony administrator told her. Some kind of alien bacteria from the mines. Show me the first victims, Eziel said. She examined the medical records carefully. All 23 initial victims had eaten lunch at the same cafeteria on the same day. This was not natural, Eziel said. This was deliberate. Someone poisoned the food supply. It took her 2 weeks, but Eziel found the proof. A maintenance worker who had disappeared the day before the outbreak. Security footage showed him accessing restricted areas. Chemical analysis of the cafeteria found traces of a bioweapon that matched Council military research. They are trying to kill us quietly, Eziel reported to Marshal Kongmin Yu, the head of Human Defense Initiative. The Council cannot afford an open war yet. Their member species would question it. So they are using sabotage and terrorism. How many incidents are we talking about? Kyungmin asked. 17 confirmed in the last 6 months, Eziel replied. Reactor failures on orbital stations. Communication blackouts during critical operations. Food supply contamination. All of them have traces of Council involvement. Kungmin was a career soldier, 50 years old with a face that rarely smiled. But he was also smart enough to see the bigger picture. If we expose this, the Council will deny it. They will say we are making excuses for our own failures. We need proof they cannot deny. The proof came 3 months later. Marshal Kungmin's forces set a trap on the colony world of New Incheon. They spread rumors about a new architect weapons facility being built there. They made sure Council spies could intercept the information. Then they waited. The Council team arrived in a stealth ship, carrying enough explosives to level the entire facility. They had orders to destroy it and make it look like an industrial accident. But Human Defense Initiative soldiers were waiting. The entire Council team was captured alive. The interrogations revealed everything. The Council had established a special division dedicated to destabilizing human space. They had agents in place on dozens of colonies. They had plans for attacks that would kill millions. And they had approval from the highest levels of Council leadership. We need to go public with this, Eziel argued. The galaxy needs to know what the Council is doing. Not yet, said Ambassador Houn Lim. She was humanity's unofficial diplomat to neutral species, the ones who traded with both humans and council members. First, we need allies. If we expose this now, the council will unite their members against us. But if we show neutral species that the council is capable of such actions, they will question their own safety. Hound had been traveling for months, meeting with representatives from species that were not part of the council's inner circle. She showed them evidence of council manipulation. She revealed how the council had deliberately withheld technology to keep member species dependent. She explained that humanity's rapid advancement was not dangerous. It was simply what happened when a species was free to innovate. Some species did not believe her. Others did not care. But a few listened. A few began to wonder if the council they served actually served them. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Councillor Draken was a member of the Vexari species, beings of energy who had served on the council for thousands of years. He had voted to banish humanity 15 years ago, but he had been watching what came after with growing unease. Draken contacted Hound secretly. "I need to speak with your leaders," he said. "What the council is doing to your species is wrong. It violates every principle we claim to uphold." "Why are you telling us this?" Hound asked. "Because I have seen the classified reports," Draken replied. "The council leadership knows that humanity has found the Architect ruins. They know you are advancing faster than any species in galactic history. And they are terrified, not because you are aggressive, but because you prove that the council's way is not the only way. If other species see your success, they might demand the same freedoms. The council cannot allow that." Draken defected to humanity, bringing with him thousands of classified documents. The information was devastating. The council had been lying to member species for millennia. The uninhabitable regions they warned everyone away from were actually rich in resources and ancient technology. The council had claimed these regions for themselves, while telling everyone else they were worthless. They built their empire on deception, Draken explained to the Frontier Assembly. They found the Architect ruins first, centuries before any other species achieved spaceflight. They used that technology to dominate the galaxy, and they have been preventing anyone else from achieving the same advantage. Why help us now? Siajan Kwan asked. "Because I joined the council, believing we were protectors of civilization," Draken said. "But we have become tyrants. You humans remind me of what we should have been. You explore. You innovate. You help those who need it. You build instead of just maintaining. The galaxy needs more of that, not less." The Shadow War escalated. Human intelligence operatives inserted agents into council space. They fed information to species that were questioning council authority. They exposed corruption and lies. They showed the galaxy that the council was not the benevolent organization it claimed to be. The council responded by increasing their covert operations. More attacks on human colonies. More assassination attempts on human leaders. More attempts to turn humanity's allies against them. The breaking point came when a council Black Ops team destroyed a civilian transport ship carrying 3,000 colonists. There were no survivors. The council claimed it was a tragic accident. Human intelligence proved it was murder. "Enough," Marshal Kyung-min said. "We have been defending. Now we go on offense." The Human Defense Initiative launched coordinated strikes on council listening posts in neutral space. They were surgical operations designed to destroy military targets while avoiding civilian casualties. But they sent a clear message. Humanity was done playing defense. The galactic community watched in shock as human forces destroyed installations that had stood for centuries. The council screamed about human aggression, but the evidence Draken had provided was already spreading through neutral worlds. More and more species were asking uncomfortable questions. Why did the council ban humans for peaceful expansion, but allow other species to conquer their neighbors? Why does the Council have secret bases in regions they told us were uninhabitable? Why has the Council been hiding advanced technology while we struggle with outdated systems? The Council's unity began to crack. Member species started demanding answers. Some began pulling their military forces back to defend their own worlds, refusing to participate in operations against humanity. Iziel sat in her office, reviewing the latest intelligence reports. "We are winning," she said to her team. "Not through conquest. Through truth." The Council's greatest weapon was always their reputation. Now that is shattered. But everyone knew the real war was still coming. The Council's core members, the species that actually held power, would not accept this challenge to their authority. They were gathering their fleets. They were calling in favors and making threats. They were preparing to crush humanity once and for all. And humanity was preparing to show them that some species could not be crushed. The attack came at dawn across 12 human colonies simultaneously. The Council had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history, 3,000 warships representing 40 different species. They came in overwhelming force, expecting to break human resistance in a matter of days. Emperor General Minho Co. watched the enemy fleet approach from his command ship, the Defiant. Minho had been an admiral before the war, known for unconventional tactics and aggressive leadership. When the Council threat became undeniable, the Frontier Assembly had voted to create a unified military command. They had elected Minho to lead it, giving him the temporary title of Emperor General for the duration of the conflict. "They think numbers will win this war," Minho said to his staff. "They are wrong." The Council made their first mistake at the Battle of Threshold Gate, a major human colony in a strategic star system. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, massive dreadnoughts leading smaller cruisers and destroyers. It was an impressive sight, meant to inspire fear. "Fleet Commander J. Kwan, you are authorized to engage." Minho ordered J. was aboard the Sovereign, the flagship of the First Armada. She was only 35 years old, but she had trained her entire adult life for this moment. "All ships activate quantum displacement drives on my mark." Dr. Eri Wang had invented the quantum displacement drive 3 years ago. It worked by creating temporary wormholes that allowed a ship to instantly appear anywhere within a star system. Traditional faster-than-light drives needed time to charge and could only jump to specific entry points. The displacement drive gave human ships tactical mobility unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Mark. J ordered 300 human warships, vanished from their positions, and reappeared scattered throughout the Council fleet. The Council ships, designed for long-range bombardment in formation, suddenly had enemies appearing next to them at point-blank range. The battle became chaos. Human ships fired advanced weapons derived from architect technology, then jumped away before return fire could hit them. They appeared behind Council ships, targeting engines and weapon systems. They coordinated their jumps to create crossfire patterns that overwhelmed Council shields. The Battle of Threshold Gate lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Council had lost 200 ships. The human fleet lost 37. The survivors of the Council fleet retreated in disorder. Their perfect formations shattered. News of the victory spread across the galaxy within hours. The Council's invincible fleet had been defeated. Species that had lived under Council control for centuries began to wonder if rebellion was possible. On the world of Karis, a species called the Bentari had been conquered by the Council 300 years ago. They had been forced to provide food for other Council species, living in poverty while their resources were taken. When the Bentari leaders saw what humanity had accomplished, they made a decision. "We want freedom," the Bentari representative told Wuzang Shah, who led humanity's diplomatic corps. We want to join your federation. We want to be equals, not servants. Then you shall be equals, Wuzong replied. We do not build empires. We build alliances of free people. More species began to rebel. Some openly declared independence. Others engaged in quiet resistance, slowing production and sabotaging council operations. The galaxy was fracturing, and the council could not stop it. The council's response was brutal. They sent punishment fleets to rebel worlds, destroying cities and killing millions. They hoped terror would restore order. Instead, it drove more species into humanity's arms. Fleet Commander J found herself leading liberation operations. Her fleets would jump into systems where council forces were attacking civilians, destroy the council ships, and leave before reinforcements could arrive. The council could not predict where humans would appear next, and their forces were stretched too thin, trying to hold on to their crumbling empire. We are not the aggressors, Minho CO declared in a message broadcast across the galaxy. We seek only freedom for ourselves and any species that desires it. We do not demand tribute. We do not conquer. We liberate. And we will continue to do so until every species in this galaxy has the right to choose their own destiny. The message resonated, not just with oppressed species, but with moderate members of the council itself. Some council species had genuine grievances against the leadership, but had been too afraid to speak up. Now they found their voice. Councillor Draken, who had defected years earlier, helped organize a peace conference. Moderate council members met with human representatives on a neutral world. Wuzong Sha led the human delegation. We proposed the Treaty of New Earth, Wuzong explained. The council dissolves. Member species become independent nations. We form a new organization, the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. Every species gets one vote, regardless of military strength or economic power. Decisions require consensus, not domination. Some council members accepted immediately. Others needed convincing. A few refused entirely, claiming the old order was sacred and must be preserved. Those who refused retreated to their heavily, defended home systems, and prepared for a final stand. The core council species, the ones who had ruled for millennia, would not surrender their power peacefully. The war that followed lasted 3 years. It was brutal and costly. Human ships jumped into systems where council defense stations had stood for thousands of years. Ancient weapons fired on young human soldiers. But architect technology and human innovation proved superior to tradition and arrogance. Marshal Kung Min Yu led ground operations when they were needed. Human soldiers fought alongside Bentari warriors, wanderer shock troops, and former council species who had switched sides. The galaxy had never seen such diverse forces working together. This is what the council feared most, Kyung-min said during one battle. Not human strength, but human ability to make friends. We do not rule through fear. We inspire through hope. The final battle took place at the council homeworld of Veltharis. Speaker Velthar himself commanded the defense, refusing to surrender even as his allies abandoned him. The battle was fierce, with ancient planetary shields holding against the modern human fleet for days. Emperor General Minho made the final assault personally. This ends today, he told his crew, not with genocide, not with revenge, but with justice. The Defiant led a strike force that disabled the planetary shields. But instead of bombardment, Minho broadcast an offer. Surrender now, and your people will be treated with dignity. Continue fighting, and you only kill your own soldiers for nothing. The old council is finished. Accept it. Velthar finally surrendered. The war was over. 35 years had passed since humanity's banishment. The scared ambassador who had stood before the council was now an old man. Timin Kong stood in the ruins of the council chamber, accompanied by Minho and other human leaders. They thought exile would destroy us, Teeman said softly. Instead, it made us strong. They thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it freed us to become what we were meant to be. The Galactic Federation of Free Worlds held its first meeting in that same chamber. Over 4,000 species sent representatives. The Bentari delegate spoke first, her voice shaking with emotion. For 300 years, my people served the Council. We were slaves in everything but name. Humanity showed us that we could be free. They fought for us when no one else would. This federation represents something the galaxy has never seen: true equality among species. Minho Co declined the position of permanent leader. I was Emperor General because we needed unity in war, he explained. But this is peace. We do not need emperors. We need representatives who listen to their people. The new federation elected a council of rotating members, with no single species holding permanent power. Every major decision required consensus from diverse voices. It was messy and slow, but it was fair. Human colonies continued to spread, but now they were joined by colonies from hundreds of other species. The architect ruins were open to all, their technology shared freely. Innovation exploded across the galaxy as species that had been held back for centuries finally had access to advanced tools. Not everyone was happy. Some council loyalists fled to the galactic edge, swearing vengeance. Some species struggled with the transition from authoritarian rule to democracy. The galaxy was far from perfect, but it was better. It was freer. It was a galaxy where any species could rise through merit rather than ancient privilege, where exploration was encouraged rather than forbidden, where diversity was celebrated rather than feared. Ambassador Haun Lim delivered the closing speech at the first Federation Assembly. The old council asked us what made humans dangerous. Here is the answer. We believe that all people deserve freedom and opportunity. We believe that working together makes us stronger than standing alone. We believe the future should be better than the past.